This is Nick from Comics, Beer, and Sci-Fi, and we're having a little chat with artist James Huntley this afternoon. James, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? How did you get into art? What's your style, and what's your area of expertise as an artist?
Sure. Well, I grew up in the northeast of England.
Okay.
Yeah, so about as far north and east as you can get without going into Scotland. That's where I am at. A lot of people just think London, but I guess I got into comics and drawing that kind of stuff. First time Cartoon Network started bringing on like Dragon Ball Z and Tenchi and that kind of stuff onto my regular Saturday morning stuff, and I thought it was awesome. So started to look at like tutorials and that kind of stuff on the internet and just started sketching. Then I went to school for computer games design, so was doing a lot of like character design and that kind of stuff, and the teachers there, they just hated the anime and manga style. They hated the influence.
Why?
It was getting so big that every new student that was coming into the field at that time was drawing in that style.
Okay.
And they had grown up with the more like the Western, the traditional comic book heroes,
Sure.
and so they didn't want to see this new style completely override. So they were happy with kind of like a hybrid kind of thing. So. And plus, like, everyone's drawings were looking the same at the time anyway.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
I started to try and kind of mix the two and get like this hybrid thing going on. And then later on, just got into like Frank Miller, and I really liked drawing these high contrast images with heavy shadow and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
When I was a kid and started drawing, which I never developed as a great artist, obviously, but it was the comic characters I tried to imitate, or I bought the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way by
Yeah,
Stanley. I'm
yeah.
sure you've seen that book. But you did it from TV characters.
I did. You know, we got cable when I was like 12 or 13 or something. The Sci-fi channel was awesome. Like around midnight, they'd stop playing like these anime and manga style stuff. So I'd tape them on my VCR, and then next morning I'd like freeze the frame and draw the characters and that kind of stuff. So that was really it. But then with the internet coming along, all of these semi-pro guys were like putting their tutorials online, so
Right.
I'd go to those. Like Julie Dillon was one of my heroes at the time. She had all this slew of amazing tutorials on how to construct faces with the basic geometric shapes that I'm sure you're familiar with, like the how to draw the Marvel way.
Right, correct.
And then, you know, I went into more traditional art, like life drawing and that kind of stuff. I got a great piece of advice from one of my tutors, which was, before you can do comics, before you can do that kind of thing, before you can distort the human figure, you have to know how to draw it properly. So I think that's really important for anyone up and coming and looking to get into this field is, don't forget your fundamentals.
Yes.
Really nail those before you start to distort things, before you go for the big muscles and the guns and that kind
Right.
of stuff. Focus on life drawing.
Learn your scales before you try playing like Jimi Hendrix.
Exactly.
So so you're in England, you were in school for art. Now you're here in Metro Detroit.
Now I'm here in Detroit.
Get us from point A to point B. How did all that happen?
Oh man, so I guess I'm like 16, keeping your typical angsty teenage blog.
Yes.
And at the time, so was my future wife.
Okay.
And she's browsing the news section, happens upon a particularly angsty post and comments on it. And you know, we just hit it off. That angst really brought us together. So, you know, I vacationed here in 2008. She did study abroad, actually through MSU, and we met up. I traveled down to London and snuck into her dorm room. Good times.
Yes.
And then we got engaged, and after thousands and thousands of dollars and years of paperwork, here I am.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, well, great. But I was actually more referring to the comic book drawing.
All right.
But we're
Okay.
glad to have your love story as well. So I should display a little more angst if I want to catch a woman, I guess,
right.
instead of trying to be the strong, silent
That
type.
dark place inside.
Gotcha. Okay. So anyway, so then the reason you're here isn't necessarily career-wise.
Yes.
But okay, so when you got here, then how did you find work in your field?
You know, I'm working with the News and Free Press right now on that creative department, and one of the employees there put me onto a job posting for a comic book artist, and they knew that it was something I'd always been interested in. And I'd been doing all my illustrations in my spare time, so I sent them over to the guys at Third Son and Able Ideaz, and they contacted me and brought me in. So.
Okay, so what are you working on right now for Able Ideaz?
Well, right now there is kind of a collaborative book called Hollow Bones, which features a series of like shorter stories rather than one continuous story throughout the book.
Okay.
So my section is called The City Beneath the City,
Okay.
and it's about I think the authorities have hired in these contract killers to clean up Detroit because they can't do it through traditional legal means.
Right.
So I got these two characters, Helio and Fuego. Helio is like the cool, calm, collected guy, and he uses a liquid nitrogen gun to freeze his enemies, I guess. And Fuego is the hot and fiery tempered guy. He uses a flamethrower. So
Now, did you create these characters?
I did not.
Okay.
They were written for me, but they had never been drawn before, so
Okay.
I wanted to do them justice. I did a few character designs and really nailed them down before I started work on the comic.
Any ambitions for the future? Any personal sort of pet projects you'd like to do, or any characters or something
Oh,
you'd like to
man.
try one day? Or
Yeah, well, Batman has always been my favorite character, and I think that dark, the heavy shadow style would, really play into what I do. But those are pretty lofty ambitions.
Sure.
For now, I have a couple of story ideas, but just continuing work with the guys, working on whatever they want me to do. This is really my first release, so look out for it. Hopefully, it'll be out soon. Hopefully, everyone can check it out.
All right, awesome. Thanks, James.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, this is Nick with Comics, Beers, and Sci-Fi, and we'll see you next time.